Welcome to PlanHub's Masterclass courses for takeoff and estimation. My name is Greg. In this video, you'll learn how to use the takeoff and estimation solutions to complete an estimate for the plumbing trade. Knowing how to set yourself up for successful takeoffs and estimates will save you time and money so you can bid more projects and grow your company. For a full takeoff and estimate, your first step is to obtain any pertinent details. For this training, I found a project, reviewed the plans, and sent them into Takeoff tool using the file viewer. Please watch the Takeoff Getting Started videos if you'd like to learn more about this process. The first step to performing any takeoff is to set the scale on the page. I've zoomed in on the scale so that we know what to set our scale to in PlanHub. First, I'm going to go up to the toolbar and click the scale icon. I'm going to click the menu and scroll up or down to identify the scale that I need to set. In this case, 1/4 inch equals a foot. I'll select it with a left click and then click Set with the left click. Now if we hover above the icon that's been placed on the plan page name on the left side of the panel, you can see that this scale is set to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Now that we've set the scale, we're ready to begin taking measurements. To begin measuring, I've zoomed in on a section of 2-inch PVC drain pipe that I would like to measure. I'm going to go to my Library tab on the right. If not already open, I could use the collapse arrow to open the measurements folder and see the measurements that are contained underneath. For my PVC pipe and fittings, I only have one entry so far. That's for 2-inch PVC DWV Schedule 40 pipe. Exactly what I need to use to measure the run of pipe that I see in the center of my screen. So to get started, I right click on the entry I'd like to use, then left click on Add Measurement. I've already configured the properties box and saved it previously, so all I need to do to get started is click Set. I get my crosshairs from my cursor. I'm going to begin measuring at the end point of this 2-inch drain. I left click once to drop the first point, stretch it out. It follows my mouse without doing anything. I left click where I need to change direction, and then double click to terminate the section. Next, I'm going to add 2-inch PVC to accommodate for the vent pipe. So I go to my measurements panel. I've already begun my 2-inch PVC measurement, so I move to the Continue Measuring toggle switch and click it once to re-engage that measurement. I get my crosshairs back from my cursor. I place the first point with a left click where I want to begin, and then move my mouse. The measurement follows me, and where I want to end this run, I double click. So now I have 7.92 linear feet of 2-inch PVC measured so far. I see there's an additional 2-inch run at the bottom, so I pan over using my right mouse button with a click and drag, and then I zoom in with the scroll wheel in between my mouse buttons. I'm still in continue mode. The tool is active and green, so I'm ready to start measuring again. Once again, I line my cursor up with the beginning point of the measurement, click once to drop the point, click again to change direction, double click to terminate that one run. Or you can press enter 2 times on the keyboard. That will end the run and turn the tool off. So now to add the additional 2-inch for the vent pipe, I do need to re-engage the tool. Click once to drop the initial point, click again to change direction, double click to terminate. If you use the double click function, the tool will stay active after you use it. Here's an additional 2-inch section. Left click to begin, left click to change direction, double click to terminate. I'm going to add this 2-inch run for our vent, double click to terminate. And pan around the page looking for additional 2-inch PVCs to measure. Once I locate it, I left click to begin, left click to change direction, left click to change direction again, double click to terminate this run. Then click again to begin, and over and double click to terminate that 2-inch section of the vent. Now we're ready to move on to our 3-inch and 4-inch PVC measurements. I don't have those configured yet in my library, so I'll need to set those up and save them. To set up a linear measurement and save it for future use, I go up to my toolbar and click Linear, choose the line mode, and configure any of the properties here I would like to. This is going to be 3-inch PVC pipe, so I paste in the description that I would like in the name, give it the item type of materials, and fill out any of these boxes you would like. I want my color for 3-inch PVC to be red, so I choose red on my color palette. Once I have everything configured, I click Set. When I click set, I get my crosshairs from my cursor, and that's how I know I'm ready to start measuring again. And I want to use this tool at least one time, so I'm going to measure this run of 3-inch pipe. Click to begin, cursor follows me, then click twice to terminate the run. Since I've used this tool once, I can now save it to my measurements library. I'm going to right click, go all the way to the bottom, choose Save to Measurement Library, and I'm going to place this into my PVC pipe and fittings folder. Now that I've saved the measurement, anytime I want to use it on any project or plans in the future, all I have to do again is click to my library tab. Here's my new 3-inch PVC that I just configured. Right click, choose Add Measurement. I accept what's in the Properties box that I've already configured by clicking Set. Next, I get my crosshairs for a cursor, and I'm ready to begin measuring sections of 3-inch PVC pipe. Find a starting point, left click to drop the initial point, double click to terminate the first run. I'm going to navigate back to my measurements panel, re-engage the tool. Remember that the first time you use a tool, a double click is going to turn it off. When you continue, a double click will keep the tool active so that you can continue using as many 3-inch measurements as you like. The measurement process for 3-inch is identical to 2-inch. A left click begins the measurement. The measurement follows you as you move your mouse. Left click to change directions. Double click to end that section. And again, we're going to repeat this process until all of our pipes have been measured. But first, we need to configure our 4-inch, save it to our library so that we can begin measuring our 4-inch PVC runs on this plan. So to get started, I'm going to get out of the linear tool I'm currently using by clicking Select. Click Linear again, choose Line Mode. This time it's going to be 4-inch. I'm going to paste in the same description in the name so that it's consistent. I want my 4-inch to be green, so I open my color palette by clicking the color square, choose the color I want, and then click Set to get started. Got my crosshairs for a cursor, so now I'm ready to begin measuring 4-inch pipe. Click to start the measurement, left click everywhere I need to change direction. The measurement line follows me until I double click to terminate. The first use, of course, turns the tool off with a double click. Every use after that, when you continue, the tool will stay active with a double click so that you can continue measuring additional 4-inch runs of pipe. If you need to toggle between two sizes, you can easily do that by just simply clicking the Continue Measuring toggle switch on the measurement that you would like to use. Now when you begin using the tool, you'll be using the new size that you chose. Now I'm going to continue measuring until all the lengths of pipe in this plan page have been measured. After you've measured your lengths of pipe, it's time to start counting your fixtures so you can charge accordingly for each one. I've already set up and saved measurements to my library for the fixtures that we see in this particular floor plan. I'll follow the exact same procedure as saving a length measurement. I created each one under a new instance, utilized it once, saved it to favorites, and then it became a part of my library from that point forward. So now I'm going to count the single lavatories in this plan by right-clicking on single lavatory and add measurement. I'm accepting the defaults that I've already configured, and I'm ready to start counting my lavs. I hover above it with my counting tool, click once, it places a count dot on the fixture. I continue around the plan, clicking a single count dot on every lavatory that I see. Next, we want to count the additional fixtures. So I'm going to move on to my toilet. These are marked as ADA accessible, so I right-click on ADA toilet, add measurement. Then I place a count dot on every toilet in the plan. I'm going to follow the exact same procedure for the floor drains, floor sinks, and hand sinks, and even the kitchen sink. After adding count dots to all the fixtures in the plan page, it's time to account for the fittings. The procedure I'm going to use would be for an accountant who likes to itemize your PVC fittings along with your lengths of pipe and your fixtures. So to get started, I've created some favorites already in my library under a PVC fittings folder. That list is what I'll be using to count my fittings with. To get started, I immediately see a couple of spots where 3" 45s are needed. So I click my 3" 45 entry, right click, choose add measurement, accept what I've already configured. Zoom into the plan page, put a count dot wherever I see I will need a 3" 45. I also have other sizes such as 2" 45 and 4" 45s. I see there's a couple of 2" 45s right here in this region. So I'm going to right click and add measurement on my 2" 45, click set to accept what I've already configured in the properties box, and click everywhere I see a 2" 45 is required according to the plan. Same thing with 4" 45s, right click add measurement, accept the defaults that I already had configured, and then click everywhere I see a 4" 45 will be required. Now I see in the plan I'm going to require a 4" Y as well. So I'm going to come over. I don't have one yet in my library, so I need to configure one. I click count, change the name to what I would like it to save as. Make my color agree with my piping colors, and click set. Then I click everywhere I'm going to be required to have a 4" Y according to the plan drawings. Now I see I'm also going to require 4" 45, so I come over to my saved library. I have one of those configured, so I'm going to right click add measurement, click set to get started. And I'm going to click everywhere where a 4" 45 is required. I'm going to continue this process, and the new fittings that I've set up, such as the 4" Y, I'm also going to save that one to my library for future use. Now that I have all of my pipe, my fittings, and my fixtures accounted for, it's time to start building our estimate from our takeoff measurements. The simplest and easiest way to build cost items from your measurement results is to choose the measurement result you would like to send across, right-click on the result, and choose Add to Estimate. You'll be asked to select which page you would like to add it to. This being a brand new project, there's not a page yet. Occasionally you will have Project Estimate 1 already created. In this case, it's not here, so I'm going to click the checkbox next to Create New Estimate, and Project Estimate 1 will be created for me, and this cost item will be placed into it. I'm also going to send across my 3" PVC, put it in the newly created Project Estimate 1, and my 4" PVC as well. Next would be the fixtures. However, before I send the fixtures across, I'm going to make sure I have some assemblies built out. Because I'm selling a single lavatory, I also need to account for all of the connections that are going to go along with its install. I'm going to build an assembly to account for all of those multiple cost items from a single count result. To build an assembly, I'm going to navigate to my Assemblies tab. Right at the top above the toolbar are links to navigate between our takeoff and estimation pages. I'm going to click Assembly. The list of pre-configured assemblies that I've already set up, or those within my team have already set up, will be here in my list. I know I do not have one for a lavatory build out yet, so I'm going to choose Create Assembly so that I can create it. First, I'm going to name my assembly. This is going to be a single lavatory build out. I like to give this an easy name to recognize with as much details as necessary so that I can easily identify this in Takeoff whenever I utilize this particular assembly. After I give it a comprehensive name, next I'm going to choose the measurement type. This determines what measurement type this particular assembly will accept moving forward. It's going to be based on the counts of the fixtures. Next, I'm going to address the item type at the cost item level instead of right here at the assembly level. So I click Add New Cost Item. This is the lavatory charge for the fixture itself. Here I'm using a generic lavatory name. I'm going to copy and paste that into my description as well. If this were an actual estimate that I were building out for a client in order to bid a job, then I would actually include the name and details, perhaps even the model number from the manufacturer of a particular sink that I'm charging for. And in that case, I would have a greater level of detail. Here I'm going to put in my unit costs. I'm going to charge $40 for the actual lavatory sink itself. Choose the item type for this particular cost item, which is materials. The unit of measure, this is going to be each. For every single count I count,
I want it to charge for 1 laboratory bowl. I click Save to save the progress, and then choose to click the Formula button so that I can tell the computer if there are any conversions that need to take place with my count results. There aren't any, and I know I have a standard count formula already created. If I didn't, I would simply create a formula called count and choose the count option here to put into the formula box. Since I already have that created, I'm going to choose Add, and now my count formula is populated for me. Next, I'm going to apply that to the cost item. Then I need to charge for the P-trap that I'll need to connect this with. So I'm going to add new cost item. Give it a name, description. So I slide across. I'm going to include the cost for each one of the P-traps. Item type is still materials. The unit of measure is each. I save the progress, and I need to put the same count formula on to this cost item because it is a one-on-one relationship. Every time I count a lavatory, I want to bill for 1 P-trap. So I choose the Add button on my count function and choose Apply to Cost Item. For our supply lines, we need 2 of those for every lavatory that we install if we have hot and cold water, 2 each. So I'm going to add a new cost item to bill for the supply lines. I'm going to slide across, give them a cost, choose the item type, and our unit of measure is still going to be each. However, every time I install a lavatory, I want to double the count because there's 2 supply lines for every lavatory that I install. So I'm going to save my progress and then choose the formula button. In this case, I do not need my count times 1 or a standard count. I need my count times 2. I scroll down to see if I've already got that built out, and I do. If I didn't, it would be as simple as giving it a name, such as count times 2, choosing the count function so that the measurement result auto-populates, and then multiply times 2. Round up the result because I don't ever want a partial supply line, and then I would save. Since I've already got this formula built, count times 2, I'm going to choose the green Add button and not to save what I had configured over here already, but replace it with the formula that I'd already saved from another occasion. Then I click Apply to Cost Item. I'm going to do the same thing for the cutoff valves. Add new cost item. Scrolling across. Add in my cost, define my item type next, and then my unit of measure. Save my progress, apply a formula. This is also a count times 2. So I'm going to scroll down until I find my count times 2, use the green Add button to add it to this instance, and then apply to cost item. Next, I need my ADA wrap for the supply lines and for the drain. So I'm going to click Add New Cost Item. And this will charge for my ADA wrap for my water lines underneath the lavatory. Just as above, I'm going to scroll across and add a unit cost. Set my item type and my unit of measure. Click Save. This is going to be a count times 1 because I purchased these as a set of 2. So I just need that set to count 1 time for every count of every lavatory. So I'm going to use my generic count formula, then apply to cost item. Next, I need my wrap for my drain line. Add new cost item. Add my unit cost. Then define my item type and my unit of measure. Click Save, choose the formula. This is also going to be a 1-for-1 since that's a single wrap for every single lavatory. So I just choose to apply my single count formula so there's no conversions made to this line item. Then I apply to cost item. And if that's all of my build out pieces, then I click Save Changes. Now this is available to use from the Takeoff from any count result. The count result that I'm going to use it for is going to be my single laboratory count. There are 3 of them in this structure, so I'm going to right-click on that result. Then I'm going to send it to assembly. Next, I choose what assembly I want to use. The one for today is the single lab build-out, so I click to select it and then put it right into our Project Estimate 1 page. Click Add. It's going to verify the quantities. This is taking the direct count result, so I'm leaving it as is and clicking Insert. Next, you get a banner that shows the change has been made, and you can click the link there. It will take you directly to the page where that particular cost item was applied through the assembly. The assembly comes across and enters our estimate as a green line item as opposed to blue like the other cost items. And also there's an expand arrow on the far right side. Open that up and you'll see all the cost items listed below. You'll notice that on the supply lines and valves, since we applied the formula count times 2, it took the count of 3, doubled it, so it's charging for 6 supply lines and 6 valves. Next, I'm going to follow that process and create assemblies for all the other fixtures that I need to bill for within this plan. For this particular example, I don't have these fixture assemblies built out yet, but if you know that this is a particular task you're going to be recreating, then you'll probably want to set these assemblies up ahead of time so that when you get to your takeoff and you're ready to build your estimate, your assemblies are already created and ready to use. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my assemblies for the other fixtures now. Here, I've gone to my assemblies area and chose to create a new assembly. This is for the ADA toilet build-out. It's based on the count measurement type, and I've added this list of cost items to this assembly. I'm charging for the toilet itself, the wax ring, the toilet flange, the toilet bolts, and the supply line. All those will be automatically billed for when I send the count of toilets through this assembly and into the estimate. Now I'm going to save changes and then migrate back over to my takeoff window so that I can utilize my new assembly. Find my 88 toilet count, right-click, send to assembly, choose my 88 toilet build-out, put it right back in the page we've been using so far, and choose Add, verify the quantities. And now that toilet build-out assembly is going to be here in Project Estimate 1. Again, it's a green line item with an expansion arrow, so I click the expand arrow, scroll down, so you can see that it billed. All of my formulas were direct counts, so it did not alter any of the counts since I only needed one of each of these items for each toilet that is being installed. Next, I'm going to complete the build-outs for the other items. Now that I've built out assemblies to receive the build-outs for the other items that require multiple things to be charged for every time I use it, we can go ahead and charge for the kitchen sink. Right-click, send through the assembly, scroll down until I see my kitchen sink single bowl build-out, put it in the same page of the estimate we've been using, and click Add. Confirm the quantities. Next, we move on to the hand sink. Right-click, send to the assembly, hand wash sink build-out, put it in Project Estimate 1, add, confirm the totals, and insert values. I do have other items that I'm going to send straight through so that I can put a single cost on a single line item, such as the floor drain and the floor sink. So I right-click, Add to Estimate, put it in the page that I would like it to go to, and click Add. Same thing for my floor sink, Add to Estimate, place it in the Project Estimate page I would like it to go to, then click Add. Next, I need to bill for my fittings. Since I have a count of those and they're simple 1-for-1s, I'm going to right-click and send each one of those to the estimate by choosing Add to Estimate. Just sent over my last individual item I would like to be a member of the estimate as a cost item, so I click to see the results. Now I have all of my single items, such as my length of pipe, my assemblies for my complete builds out of fixtures, and then my individual items such as my PVC fittings down below. Looks like I accidentally sent over 4x3 twice. In that case, we select it with a checkbox, and you can drop down the Actions menu and choose to remove it. Another way to remove this one line item would be to scroll all the way over to the right side and click the trash can. That will delete the one cost item out of this particular estimate. This is an example of how you could itemize for your pipe, your fittings, and your builds outs for your fixtures. If your workflow is different and you want to charge a group price based on the total number of fittings, then you would simply perform the counts of the fittings as one continuous count that included all the different sizes, and then you can apply a price appropriately for that entire group. Again, this particular example, I am itemizing, including the particular connection items for the build-outs of the fixtures and for the individual fittings, etc. Another strategy that is just as appropriate as what you watched me do with building out the assemblies ahead of time, including their costs. Some clients prefer not to apply the costs at the assembly construction level. Rather, they prefer to apply the cost here at the estimate level, so they leave the cost 0 when they build out their assemblies, and then they're able to simply expand and edit each one of these items independently to apply the cost. An advantage there is if you do have increases or fluctuations in the price of your materials, then you don't need to go over and make changes to your assemblies that already have costs saved in them. But you would have to apply a cost to every cost item in an assembly at the time you use it. Again, these are workflow decisions. After utilizing the system, you'll develop your own particular workflow to accommodate for these individual tasks. Now, this particular estimate is built out. I don't have any labor attached to any of the jobs yet. Again, that is a workflow decision that can be made by you and your company. There are multiple ways you can bill for the labor associated with the jobs. If you wanted to, you could apply labor costs for each one of the piping materials set on a linear foot when you run the pipe. Or you could include labor charges in your assemblies as a line item so that when you install a single lavatory, you know how much it's going to cost you to rough that plumbing in, stack that vent pipe out, and then actually set those fixtures. You could apply that labor cost as a line item within your assembly and have that bill automatically. Another workflow would be to add a bulk line item for all the labor, and you have a total you would like to charge for, then you can just simply click the Add Cost Item button. This adds a blank entry to your estimate. This could be anything from materials to other contractors. For instance, if you're going to sub out the stack out portion of this particular job, then you can select the item type of subcontractor and apply their charge so that it passes through to the job in the estimate. In this example, I'm going to create a bulk labor charge that's going to accommodate for all the labor in this particular project. So I'm going to name this total labor. Does not need a measurement type since I am adding these manually. Item type, however, I did set to labor. That's important because when I add my overhead and profits later, I can choose to add it by material types or pages of this estimate. Let's say for this particular task, it's going to take 200 hours. Unit of measure is going to be by the hour, so I select H on my keyboard. That zeroes me in on any unit of measure that begin with H. Then I select hours with a click. I'm going to charge $85 for 2-minute labor, and then click Save. Now our labor charge is included with our materials, and our grand total for our page of the estimate at the bottom is $19,031. Since I don't have any additional pages contributing money to this particular estimate, our project totals at the top match with our project page totals at the bottom. Next, we can adjust the financials associated with this particular estimate. We can do it a few different ways. Number one would be to add an increase in your waste. For instance, if I want to bill for the lengths of pipe, but I want to automatically include a 10% waste to accommodate for any stub outs or cuts, then I can edit the line item by clicking the pencil. I can add 10% into my waste. I also have not added a unit cost yet for my 4-inch, 3-inch, or 2-inch PVC, so I'll be doing that now. I'm going to charge $3 per foot for my 2-inch PVC, and then click Save. I've added my waste in, so that increased my quantity. We started with 70 linear feet. Now we're up to 77 because we added that additional 7 feet based on that 10% waste. It multiplied times the $3 per foot, and now our grand total for that one line item is $231.36. Next, I'm going to edit the 3-inch. Again, I'm going to accommodate for a waste. Then here we're going to charge $5 per foot for 3-inch. Scroll across, making sure I've addressed any of the fields I would like to. Click Save, and then I move on to repeat the process with the 4-inch PVC. When you click Save, any math that's inside of the cost item will reconcile, and they will contribute to both your page totals at the bottom and your project totals at the top. Another way you can accommodate for any adjustments in your pricing would be through the use of the Adjust Rates button in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. When I click it, I have the option to add a rate, which is a discrete dollar amount, or an overhead and profit, which is a percentage. Each one of these, you can choose the page of the estimate you would like to apply the increase to. Here we only have one page. Next, I want to add an increase to my labor charge, but I want to do it by a discrete value and not by a percentage. In this case, I'm going to increase my labor charge by $8 per hour. When I click Apply, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where my labor charge is. Our total labor was 200 hours at $85 an hour, but I added that adjusted rate of $8 an hour, so now our new rate for labor is $93 per hour. Another way to add an increase in the financials to your estimate would be through the use of overhead and profit. Two different ways you can add overhead and profit. You can use the Adjust Rates button and zero in on a particular page of the estimate or a particular item type or both, and then put your percentage increase. For this example, I'm going to be adding a comprehensive overhead and profit to the entire project. So I'm going to click the gear in the project totals area. This will affect change across the entire estimate or all of the pages if there are multiple pages. It's going to apply this change to every cost item category. So here I'm going to put in my percentage. I want to increase by 6%. Then I click Apply. Here we can see that our unit cost for 2-inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe was $3 per linear foot. I've added my overhead and profit of 6%, which amounts to 18 cents on this particular line item. So we have our new total, which reflects that increase in the unit cost. Same thing for every other cost item, including in your assemblies. If we expand those out, you can see there is a 6% increase across the board in all cost items. So now that we've got our estimate built out, we've priced the items, we've added our overhead and profits, accommodated for tax if we needed to. Next, we can export this out to an Excel spreadsheet. That way we will have these totals ready and handy when we're ready to create a bid from them. I checked the export box and chose the page I want to include. There's only one page in this estimate, so it is a 1-for-1. I click download to accept. Then my browser requires me to click an additional time to open the file. And here we see in our export, we have a summary page at the beginning that includes all the information about this particular project. Project Estimate 1 is the page where we have placed all of our cost items. If we had additional pages, they would each have their own independent tab here in our spreadsheet. If we look at this particular page, we've got our breakdown of our individual cost items, and then our assemblies, such as the lavatory single assembly with all of its associated cost items. Everything is accounted for here in this one page, for this one page of the estimate. Also, we have a bill of materials at the end. It does not have subtotals or totals, but it does include the details of every cost item we have. Also, a couple of things we can do from the Takeoff level. If we need to export a picture of this file, then we can download the PNG by using the Download PNG button in the upper right-hand corner. Choosing Download. Of course, my browser makes me click again to circumvent pop-ups. And here is our printout of the drawing that includes all of our measurements and markups. You can also export all of your measurements in the exact format that they were taken by clicking the Export button in our Project Measurements area. This is going to place all of these measurement results into an Excel spreadsheet. So you have this as an export option if it's beneficial to you.
So now that you understand how to collect your takeoff measurements, use those measurements to create an estimate, we hope you'll move forward, perform takeoffs, and create your own estimates. If at any point in the process you require assistance, you can click the Account Manager button in the upper right-hand corner of your Takeoff or PlanHub window. Your account manager will be happy to help you however they can, or if you'd like additional one-on-one training on takeoff and estimation, they can assist you with scheduling that as well.